talk about Cinema Verite.
Okay.
Well, and let's talk about working with that cast. I mean, you were pretty much separate, and a lot of your scenes weren't with the family. But what was that like? Tim Robbins, Diane Lane. I mean, Tim Robbins made you look tiny.
I know.
By the way,
he's very tall. Tim Robbins is very tall. You know, obviously it was very intimidating to work with a cast of that caliber. You know, obviously I've worked with actors that I personally believe are as strong or as talented, but you know, when you sort of look at the general consensus of what they've achieved and what their abilities are, it's very challenging. But I have to say, they were all such lovely people. From you know, Diane, Tim, James, everybody was Patrick. Everybody was so wonderful. Obviously, it's a role that's very different from
anything you've ever done.
Yeah, for sure. But it was also, other than Donny Osmond, when I was 12, was the first time I was playing somebody real, and I spent, you know, hours and hours of time watching every piece of footage I could get of him, and every interview, and every soundbite of him, and every performance of his band, and you know, I really just became fascinated with him. When I got the script, I didn't know the story of An American Family. I didn't know the story of Lance Loud, and I sort of read it and was like, this is a very flamboyant guy. There's nothing I can really do here. And then when I watched footage of him on the Dekker show, which was on YouTube, I just thought he was this fascinating guy that had his own voice and his own cadence and his own movements and his own very specific thing. It was very tied to sort of old Hollywood in a way. You know, he has very Judy Garland, Betty Davis, Joan Crawford kind of thing going on, which I assume he watched him as a child, and that became his portal into star quality, as I've said before. But yeah, so that became my obsession, was not to embody this guy who happened to be the first gay figure on reality TV, even though that's most of the press that I've done is about that. It was about really learning and becoming this person.
Right.
But the most difficult thing for all of us in the film was, okay, we understand how these people work when they're in front of the camera, but how do they work when they're not in front of the camera? Even though we are in front of the camera playing them, we had to figure out the off-camera moments.
Well, one of the things I thought was so fascinating about the movie, one, is they put you side by side with real people, which, talk about pressure.
Thank God, though, because otherwise people wouldn't have known what the hell I was doing, because he's a specific person.
But secondly, what you guys had to portray, which I thought was fascinating, was people who were aware that they were being filmed. So real people who were aware that they were being filmed.
Yeah. It's a weird thing to grasp. Being filmed as people who don't know they're being filmed, and the people who do. You know, that's like a triple kind of entrance. But
so talk about the voice, and talk about the wig, and talk about all of that.
Well, the wig became a part of everything that I did. I mean, and I have to hand it to HBO. They allowed me and the sort of designers to be a part together of the wardrobe, of the hair, of the makeup, of everything, of how we, and they did that with every actor, you know, of how do we get this just right. And you know, I was also given the time and the space to sort of play with this. And it's weird to me because, you know, I shot this middle of last year when I was not working much. I took a lot of time off due to my personal life with my father, and so it was very weird to have this last weekend, where I had the film in Tribeca, Angel's Crest, that I'd done in 2009. And this movie I did sort of middle of 2010, and a long gap. I mean, it took a lot of things learned and a lot of things experienced, and it was almost like Angel's Crest was very instinctive and very primal. You know, Cinema Verite was very calculated, very, okay, I'm constantly thinking about to recreate this voice and recreate this person. You know, it's a very mental process, whereas Angel's Crest, or really Angel's Crest more so than anything I've ever done, was very instinctive, very of the heart, and one was of the mind, one was of the heart.
So could you, like right now, would you be able to do Lance Loud's voice?
Hi. Like that.
That's it?
It's a very, I always go, hi, because that's always how he said it. He had this really, you know, sort of very cinematic kind of hello, you know, but he was an amazing guy, and I have to say the weirdest thing about it has been that since I played him, all these people that were already in my life, John Waters, Rick Stoll, Darren Stein, they all knew him at different times in their lives, and it was this amazing thing where they're like, oh, you know, I have to, the most nerve-wracking thing probably I've ever done was going to the premiere of the film, and the whole family was there. So I never met them, they weren't a part of the production, and obviously Lance is the only one who wasn't there because he sadly passed away, but having Pat Loud tell me she couldn't have hoped for a better recreation of her son.
Fantastic.
You know, I was sweating, I was shaking. It's a very, you're stepping on a lot of toes, you know, you're really kind of invading. I don't know how my mother would feel if an actor came in and portrayed me or her husband, my father, anybody. So having their say, everyone else could have told me the film was terrible, I was terrible, and I pretty much would have been fine because having an okay